This is Dave Lombardo.
Hi, this is Kerry King from Slayer.
This is Gary Holt from Slayer.
This is Tom Araya Slayer, and you're watching Loudwire.
In 1981, you were at a session trying out for a band. After the session was over, Jeff Hanneman approached you, and the two of you began to play Iron Maiden and Judas Priest songs with the session's drummer. Then after that jam session, Hanneman and yourself decided to start a band.
Yes and no.
Okay. So what's the wrong part of that?
I was in a band with Tom when I was like 16.
Okay.
And it was my guitar teacher's band, and I knew he was grooming me to replace a guitar player. I didn't know why. I was 16. I didn't care. I was just like, I think this guy's going to put me in his band. And, for a 16-year-old to be in your guitar teacher's band, that's like something important, I'm like, this guy must think a lot of me. But that band didn't hang out, so I'm looking for another band to play with. And then, I don't know if they ever had it in New York City, but the West Coast, we had something called The Recycler. It's ads.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Free ads. Mm-hmm. And that used to be really popular, before the internet and all that fun shit. But so I would look at an ad and I called this band. I think they were called Ledger.
Ledger.
And I don't think they ever did anything. So I'm just saying, I think they were called Ledger. If it wasn't, sorry.
Not Heath
But again,
Ledger.
I don't think they fucking did anything anyway. So, and Jeff was playing. He had his Les Paul out and he's playing guitar at like the reception desk. He's like the dude that told people where to go when they came in the building.
Okay.
So I went and tried out with these guys, which were way more of a, as I remember, Southern rock kind of thing.
Huh.
Which, if you're talking Leonard Skinner and Molly Hatchet, badass, but not that good. So I was in there for a little bit, and then when I came out, I stopped and talked to Jeff. And I said, you play a lot of the songs I know. We should get together and, see if we're into playing together. So we did. And in that same time frame, I came across Dave. And I think the first time the three of us played together was in Dave's garage. And we did that maybe a couple times. And I hit up Tom, who I knew previously, and said, hey, man, I think we got something. Seems pretty cool to us. Check it out and see if you want to be a part.
The beginning of Slayer happened when you just happened to drop by Kerry King's house one day just to meet him. You introduced yourself, mentioned you played drums and wanted to start a band.
Sort of, yeah. Well,
Pretty much.
pretty much. I think a few months before I drove by, I had heard from a local band called Sinister, I think was their name.
Okay.
I mean, this is back in, 80, 81, 82.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yeah, some guy lives there and he has a bunch of guitars. His dad bought him like 6, 7 guitars.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I drove by, and sure enough, there's this guy watering the lawn, kind of long hair. I said, hey, man, you play guitar? I said, I play drums, man. Let's get together. And that was
Wow.
it. And then he went over my house where my drum set was. He brought his amp, and, we played several times. And then he brought over Jeff.
Yes.
And
Right.
then they came over to the house, and we played in the garage for a while, in my garage, and then he said he knew of a singer in a band, and he also played bass.
Yep. And that would be Tom, of
And that was
course.
Tom. So then we went over there.
Yeah.
Slayer was discovered by Brian Slagle, who had recently founded Metal Blade Records, after he heard Slayer perform a cover of Iron Maiden's Phantom of the Opera.
I don't think we ever played Phantom of the Opera all the way through.
Okay, fiction. Do you know?
I know parts of Phantom of the Opera, but I don't think to this day I've ever played that top to bottom.
No.
I don't think so. We used to play a lot of Maiden.
Sure.
But Phantom of the Opera wasn't one of them. He saw us play the Woodstock, and I'm sure we did a handful of covers, a handful of originals. And then we were on Metal Massacre 3.
Yes.
And before we finished recording that, he already gave us a record deal.
Do you remember one of the first songs that you jammed with Kerry?
He had a list, pretty extensive list of songs that he knew. He played in a cover band with Tom.
Yeah. A lot of Iron Maiden stuff.
That was later.
That was later.
That was
Okay.
later. We played "On Fire" by Van Halen.
Cool.
I think we played some Judas Priest songs.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking the
Nice.
Law, Living After Midnight. The early stuff. I forget. Don't remember too many of them. I put my mind to it, I probably could, but
Okay.
yeah, right now they're not coming to me.
It said that Slayer began using satanic themes in both lyrics and live performances to gain notice among the metal community.
I think we did, no, we used that.
Fiction.
We used that more to be different from the Hollywood community.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
it was to be different and just scare people, you know, because that stuff kind of scares people, you know, and that's kind of fun, you know, when you scare people and they don't like, oh, are they evil? Are they satanic? So we did that more for, more to fuck with people. That's kind of like a lot of reasons why we do a lot of the
There you
shit we
go.
do is to fuck with people.
Yeah.
And that was a good way to fuck with the Hollywood crowd because they were all, you know, there were a bunch of guys looking like, you know, girls, women.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we wanted to be the ugly guys, you know, that didn't look like women. They knew how to put makeup on. We looked like guys that didn't know how to put makeup on. You know what I mean? So
There was a little makeup in the beginning, to be honest, though.
Yeah, we did, but
Little
it
bit.
was just eyeliner. But I mean, that, you know, that's my point.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't do it to look pretty. We did it to look ugly. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that was the scene then, and we didn't want anything a part of that. We didn't want to be a part of that.
Right.
So we did this different image to fuck with everybody.
It says that you're the one who drew the iconic Slayer logo for the first time.
Yeah, we were drawing our own flyers, you know, at that time.
Oh, yeah,
that we
of
were
course.
printing and, you know, putting in high school lockers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would go onto campus and put all the flyers in there. And I remember, you know, we had just decided that the name of the band was going to be Slayer instead of Wings of Fire. Those were the two choices.
Wings of Fire.
Wings
okay.
of Fire and Slayer.
Damn, I don't think I
And,
heard Wings of Fire.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
We chose Slayer, and then I remember we were in the living room, and Tom's parents had his blue carpet, and we were trying to figure out what the logo was going to look like. And I said, well, you know, what is a murderer, a guy that kills, you know, what does he do? You know, when he so then what I
carved
did
it
is
in
I
there?
carved it. Obviously, I'm left-handed, so all the angles, you know, it's all left-hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, that's weird to think of. Yeah, it is all kind of to the left.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be normal for a right-handed too, but it'd be difficult,
You
wouldn't it?
didn't carve it in the carpet, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
It's a pencil.
All right.
Show No Mercy was financed by Tom, who used his earnings from his job as a respiratory therapist, and money was also borrowed from your dad.
Tom was a respiratory therapist.
He was.
I'm not sure if he had any input from his parents or not. I can't remember.
Okay.
But my parents did, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, you try not to dig into your parents' pockets, but you know, if that's the only way to get it done, you know, Brian gave us what he gave us, then we had to make ends meet. So, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So that Slayer began its first national club tour in 1984 to promote Show No Mercy. You guys traveled in your Camaro, towing a U-Haul trailer, and your younger brother Johnny, who was 13 or 14 at the time, was a roadie who would set up the back line and do sound for you.
That's correct.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had it was him and we had a drum tech, a guy named Kevin Reed. But it was my brother and Kevin, and they were
that
both.
young of an age. That's so cool to go on tour. At
yeah.
that young. Did you get any chicks?
Yeah, you know, but that changes your life so much. You know,
Yeah.
the experience of going out on because when we were in California, it was a different story because we were in one spot. But the minute we went out and ventured out and experienced all that, and then come home, you come home different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you come home with a little more knowledge, more street knowledge, if anything, a little smarter about how the world really is. So that really changed him at that young age.
It was good for him.
It was kind of good for him. Yeah, it was kind of good for him because he got back home. He had to go back to school.
Yeah,
And here he is hanging out. He's hanging out with all these other kids that are 14, 15. And he's kind
And
of like,
he's just like, what am I doing?
what am I
back
doing here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
what am I
that's-
doing here? So, you know, he finished school, which was, you know, but it changes when you go out and you experience shit, you know, and it was the same way when we went to Europe. He went to Europe with us.
Wow.
And that was the very first time I went to Europe in '85. It was the same thing.
Was this like during summer vacations and stuff for him?
Well, it was in the summertime, but no, he took a leave of absence from school.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that was even worse because in Europe, things are a little different.
Yeah.
So
Rules are a little looser, maybe for.
Well, yeah, the rules are a little looser, but everybody, being in a band and working with a band, no one's going to question your age. I mean, and that
drinking age is only 18 in a lot of those countries, so it's a little.
Yeah, but I mean, but he was, fuck.
He was obviously.
He was 15 or 16 at the time when he went to Europe. He was, I think he was 14 when he went to Europe.
Show No Mercy tour. Gene Hoglan was a roadie for you guys, but he was fired after the second show due to lack of knowledge of what to do.
Gene Hoglan was a friend of ours, and he used to take pictures at shows. I don't think he was ever. I don't think of him as ever being a roadie.
Certainly,
he was around, and I know he took pictures, but I don't think he was part of our crew. Tom's little brother's always been a part of our crew.
Right, they did say that on Wikipedia. So, I guess then there was no Gene Hoglan firing.
I don't think so. I mean, he was around, but maybe he helped out, but I don't think it was ever like a roadie kind of situation.
All right, fiction.
It's funny because we did one of these with Kerry, and he didn't quite remember the details of this, so I figured I'd ask you. When Gene, as you said, worked as a roadie for a little bit, it was after a lighting guy didn't show up one night, and he performed your sound checks. But then it says that he was fired as he thought Hoglan. Gene was fired as he thought a roadie only did lighting.
I don't recognize that story.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
That's pretty much what Kerry says. That doesn't sound right to me.
That doesn't, no.
No, but just was a roadie for a bit.
Yeah, he was just a roadie.
Peck your drums?
He might have carried him in, yeah. He might have helped him out. I don't remember him really. I think he was just hanging out with us for a while. Not sure.
No. All right.
He was there.
He was around.
There, yeah.
Okay. Just a buddy, I guess, at that point in your career, yeah. Rain and Blood. It said that it was you who initiated contact with Rick Rubin to produce the record.
Yes. I heard through the grapevine that a major label was looking for the band. Mm-hmm. And I think I approached Kerry and Tom, and I asked them, hey, what should we do? Should we call this guy or what? And they said, no, we're in a deal with Metal Blade. I don't think we can go. We can step out of the deal. They said things were cool at that time. We don't need to move. I don't know. I felt it was important to at least question, the offer.
Rick I don't think he'd done any metal before that,
no,
had he?
No, he didn't. He was in the middle. He had signed Beastie Boys. He was working with Run DMC. And there's a picture online. You can search it out. And it's a picture of Run DMC, Slayer, and the Beastie Boys all in the same studio. Oh. We were mixing Rain and Blood. And Rubin had Run DMC in one studio, Studio A, Beastie Boys, Studio B, and Slayer in Studio C. All mixing. This machine. That's amazing.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Def Jam's distributor Columbia Records refused to release Rain and Blood due to its graphic cover and themes. The album was distributed by Geffen, but it did not appear in the Geffen Records release schedule because of controversial this and that and whatever.
Columbia refused to release Rain and Blood because of Angel of Death.
Okay, strictly because of that song.
Strictly because of that song.
Not that, because the album cover is really not.
It had nothing to do with the album cover. It had everything to do with the song.
Wow. Okay. Was it the same with Geffen not putting it in their release schedule?
Geffen didn't even put their logo, their David Geffen logo on the album. It was just American. It was released through Geffen, but it's like they kind of like they handled it with gloves. So they wouldn't leave their imprint on it. but Geffen, Geffen picked it up, and which I think was actually a really good opportunity for Rubin because because Columbia not releasing the album was a breach of contract. So Rubin was able to get out of that and was able to do his own thing.
American is his label, right?
American is his thing. So he was able to get out of that and make his own label.
It also says you were unhappy with the album's final mix.
Which album?
Divine Intervention.
I don't like the mix on that. The whole thing about that album, we went in to record, and we got like 3 weeks in, And it was really weird how all this went down. And whoever the first engineer was, he says, well, whoever gets hold of this next. And I just sat and listened to it for a few times. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? And then it came around again. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean, what guy's next? He's like, oh, well, I'm done in 2 days.
Oh.
And nobody told us. We just thought we were rolling with this cat, whoever that was. And then another guy came in. I think that happened at least 3 times. And then mixing-wise, somebody mixed it that didn't originally start recording it. So it's just a shitty situation to put somebody in. And I never realized it until I went back and listened to it, because before we go on tour, I'll go back and listen to stuff, try to think of something I want to play that we haven't played in a long time.
Yeah.
And I think I played Divine after God Hates. And it was just so muddy and not done well. And I didn't know that, because a lot of times I'll put something out and I won't go back and listen to it for years, because that's all I've done for 2 years. And yeah, if I remixed anything or re-recorded anything for some reason, it would be that record. But I'm not really rushing to do that either.
So Divine Intervention, the album came out of 4 years of you hating life. I guess as inspiration or product.
That album, in my opinion, was not the best production-wise.
Okay, but you
But
weren't
hating life.
You weren't like depressed, cowering in a corner for 4 years, then wrote about it and recorded it. No, okay.
No.
That's just what it said.
Who wrote that? That album, in my opinion, was production-wise not the best. We recorded. We would start recording in one studio, and then we were told that we had to leave in a week. So we'd have to go to another studio, and like anything else, you have to sit there and try to match sounds.
The dynamics go.
Yeah, you got to get all the right dynamics together. And so we'd sit there, and then we try to find it, and then we'd like, well, let's just re-record the stuff. So we re-recorded, and only to find out that we only have this place for a few weeks. We got to go somewhere else after that. We were in 3 different studios, and it was a disaster.
I found this interesting. It said before using your own gear with Slayer, you actually used Jeff Hanneman's touring rack.
Yeah, I did. I still do use some of Jeff's stuff.
That's got to be. Take me through your touring rack versus his.
Well, I used his for quite some time, and I dialed it in to like meet what I need in a guitar sound, and I had it sounding perfect. And then when they thought Jeff was doing the whole Indio show, they like switched everything back, and I never got Jeff's 800 Marshalls, JCM 800s to sound the way I had them before. But I used them for a long time, just up until a couple of years ago, and then I've gone back and forth from like Marshall JVMs. Now I'm using the new DSLs.
Yeah. All right.
A lot of the stuff is still his. There's a lot of stuff put in that's mine now as far as effect-wise. But there's still remnants of Jeff stuff in there, and always will be.
Sure.